Welcome to part 2 of the heroine's journey. This part assumes you are familiar with the special edition of Aliens and have watched the first part of this series. Of all the Alien films, Aliens fits more neatly into the hero's journey cycle than any other. In this film, unlike the ensemble of Alien, which had the misdirection of the default hero Dallas dying 2/3 of the way through, Ripley is clearly defined as the heroine from the outset. After being found adrift on the shuttle 57 years later, finding her daughter has died of old age, and her story of the events from the first film disbelieved, then losing her flight license, Ripley's call to adventure comes at the 20-minute mark when Burke and Gorman knock on her door and try to entice her to go back to the planet after contact is lost with the colony there. And despite the post-traumatic stress she is suffering and the boredom of the ordinary world, of working in the loading docks at Gateway, she refuses the call to adventure. The next step, supernatural aid, doesn't come until a lot later in the film, when Hicks shows Ripley, by her own admission not a soldier, how to use a pulse rifle to defend herself. Even though Hicks isn't supernatural as such, he is from a different world to Ripley, military versus commercial flight officer. And he does take the form of a mentor in this transformative step in Ripley's metamorphosis. Crossing the threshold comes at a couple of points. Firstly, when the dropship departs the Sulaco and heads to the planet. There is a second, more literal threshold crossing when Ripley hesitates to enter the colony airlock, only to be guided by her aforementioned mentor in Hicks. Similarly, the belly of the whale could be interpreted in a couple of ways. It might be the abandoned colony that Gorman declares to be secured, but this still may be said to be the ordinary world. Ripley is a civilian, and this is a civilian installation, more familiar than the military surrounds of the Sulaco. More pointedly, the belly of the beast can be said to be the alien nest in the bowels of the atmosphere processor. Like the derelict that Kane explored in the first film, the ribbed walls evoke being inside a beast, and it is here that Ripley's transformation truly begins, leaving behind the ordinary world altogether and being reborn into the world of the soldier and the alien. There are hints prior to this when Ripley befriends the orphaned sole survivor Newt. Newt is an outsider like Ripley, and Ripley in turn persists with Newt when the Marines abandon her when she's unable to provide any intel. However, when the aliens attack and Gorman freezes, Ripley begins her journey from the beaten shell she was at the start of the film towards something new. Not just the master of both rules and instinct from the end of Alien, but something else. She takes charge, driving the APC into the nest to rescue the surviving Marines, and starts exercising her demons by running over an alien that attacks the vehicle. Gorman is knocked unconscious, and the soldiers wisely defer to her leadership, and she commences the road of trials. And they are many. First, not only is their dropship destroyed, it takes the APC with it, depriving them of some formidable weaponry. Next, they take stock of their assets back at the colony and learn it will be at least 17 days before they can expect a rescue, and surviving that long is unlikely. Ripley points out that Newt lasted longer than that with neither weapons nor training. Additionally, she calms the near-hysterical Hudson by giving him a purpose, calling up floor plans to plan their defence. After this, the first set of sentry guns in the tunnel from the atmosphere station open up on the aliens, but run dry before they can inflict any lasting damage. The next bump in the road is the android Bishop telling them the atmosphere processor is going to melt down in 4 hours, and their only means of escape is to pilot the second dropship down from the Sulaco remotely, which Bishop volunteers to do. These trials continue right throughout the film up to and including the aliens' final attack on operations. However, there are diversions in the story in the form of the meeting with the goddess, in this case Newt, and the scene where Ripley promises that she won't leave the girl. A much deeper bond is formed that cannot be broken lightly. The Temptress in this scenario is not the woman Campbell describes, but Burke, promising Ripley riches if they take the alien specimens back to Earth for the company to use as bioweapons. Her refusal, coupled with her confronting the facehuggers and surviving, thanks to the rescue without step by the Marines, feeds into Atonement with the Father. The Father, or holder of power, can be said to be both the alien and the company that wants to exploit them rather than wiping them out, as Burke promised earlier. by forming a bond of protection with Newt and then later crawling under Newt's bed where she is hiding to protect the child in her sleep, or the Apotheosis step for the mother side of Ripley's transformation. And being given the skills to use the gun by Hicks, she has almost completed her metamorphosis into the warrior mother. First, Burke is brought undone when accused by Ripley of releasing the facehuggers to impregnate her and Newt, and she is backed up by the Marines, including Burke's former ally, the now conscious Gorman. She holds power over the company, and minutes later when the aliens attack, she shields Newt while shooting them. And thus she has achieved her goal. The strength she had at the end of Alien and led to her survival has returned and been taken to another level. She is a mother again after failing to return home to her original daughter Amanda, but more than that, she can now directly protect her daughter by fighting back, rather than merely surviving. Unfortunately, she loses her again during the retreat, and she also loses her mentor in the form of Hicks when he's injured by alien acid blood. However, now she has achieved her goal. She is in a position to control both sets of circumstances. She almost carries Hicks to the dropship, then as Bishop flies over to the atmosphere processor, she arms herself for the struggle ahead. Both of these incidents can fall into the steps Refusal of the Return and Magic Flight. Ripley doesn't want to return to the known, not because she wants to stay in the unknown, but she doesn't want to return to the known without taking Newt with her. The Magic Flight portion is a literal flight from the landing field to the atmosphere station. The magic portion could be interpreted as the speed they took to get there. The dropship, being able to fly faster than the aliens can run, means the hive is almost empty as the creatures are mostly still at the colony, thus aiding Ripley's mission. The confrontation with the Queen could be regarded as another atonement with the Father step, but at this point Ripley's power is equal to, if not greater than the Queen's. Bishop provides the rescue from without step, twice in fact along with the magic flight, picking up Ripley and Newt at the last second as they escape from the exploding station. To diverge for a moment, this is not the first time writer-director James Cameron has reused a story beat from Alien in his film. A breakfast scene, a bumpy landing, a planning scene, a suspicious android, Ripley crawling away from a facehugger while men leap in to protect her in the med lab, risking her own safety to rescue someone else, escaping a massive explosion, or a false ending that finds a stowaway alien. Ripley crosses the return threshold as the dropship docks with the Sulaco, and in the final part of her transformation, she's able to shed the suspicion of Bishop that she has carried throughout the film due to the actions of Ash. And as such, when the alien queen emerges to target Ripley's offspring, in much the same way that Ripley targeted the Queen's, the Master of Two Worlds, warrior and mother, can now take the Queen on her own terms again, rather than merely surviving. As she did in the previous film, she dons armour, this time in the form of a power loader, to confront the dragon. And again, she's able to expel it into space, but not before beating the Queen into submission. With the final beat again borrowed from Alien, Ripley now has the freedom to live. Even more so she did in the first film, as she has gone back, met the alien at its source, and defeated it. She is free to live without fear.